Chapter 661. Seeing Swamp Crab Again. Found it. Fang Yuan's eyes shone. He had arrived before a purple stone pillar. Tai Baiyunsheng looked in the direction of his voice, merely to see that this crucial pillar was very ordinary. Just that at the base of the stone pillar, there was a rock, flat and smooth like a bench. It looked slightly special. This is it. Fang Yuan stretched out a large monstrous arm, sweeping the snow off the stone bench, confirming it. After Tai Baiyunsheng went into his immortal aperture, Fang Yuan sat down on the bench. Using a goo worm to cut his arm and letting the blood drip onto this purple stone pillar. His blood was not red like normal people. It was a jade green color and had no warmth. It was ice cold. The purple stone pillar had once been modified by thieving heaven demon Venerable with the use of his mysterious goo worm. The jade green zombie blood was quickly absorbed. Ma Hong Yun's figure swiftly flashed across Fang Yuan's mind. This opportunity originally belonged to Ma Hong Yun. Fang Yuan could be said to be a thief. After Ma Hong Yun and Zhao Lianyun were sent out of the Windvale of Assimilation by the Luck Path True Inheritance, they were snatched by Northern Plains righteous and demonic goo immortals. It was a scene of chaos. Right now, there was no news on the two of them. One could confirm that. They were captured by a goo immortal. Whether they could escape or what ordeals they were going through, no one knew. Compared to his previous life, Ma Hong Yun was much more pitiful in this life. One could see that even with fortune that rivals heaven, it is not omnipotent. Luck only provides opportunities. Whether one could use them well, that depends on the goo master's strength and abilities. Right now, everyone was still looking for Ma Hong Yun, but no one knew which goo immortal had hidden them. The allure of the Luck Path True Inheritance was too great, especially for Northern Plains goo immortals. My spring-autumn cicada has the weakness of impairing my own luck. If I can use the Luck Path True Inheritance to fix this flaw, it would be the best method. Since rebirth, I have already suffered many difficulties from bad luck. Fang Yuan sighed in his heart. Not only was Ma Hong Yun a good target as a valuable treasure, most importantly, during this Northern Plains trip, Ma Hong Yun was an eyewitness. He was an insider and would likely expose Fang Yuan and the others. Thus, Ma Hong Yun also posed a death threat to He Lu Lan. Killing Ma Hong Yun was one of the agreements in the Snowy Mountain Alliance. Entering Langya Blessed Land again, Fang Yuan did not enter the Cloud Building's room like last time. Langya Blessed Land's unique terrain was that it was situated on vast white cloud soil. 12 buildings, at equal lengths apart, were situated on the cloud soil. They were the 12 cloud buildings. But what Fang Yuan saw was a messy sight. The fertile cloud soil was full of holes. There was ice forming in some holes, while black smoke was rising in some holes. Tai Baiyunsheng came out of Fang Yuan's immortal aperture. Upon seeing this, he said, "A battle had occurred here not long ago. It seems that Langya Land's spirit was really in trouble." Fang Yuan did not speak. He only looked at the 12 cloud buildings far away. These 12 buildings had their respective features. Some had immortal cranes flying around them. Some had feathermen living in them. Some had beautiful auroras, while some had the smell of incense. But right now, only 8 of these 12 buildings were intact. The remaining 3 were in bad shape. Walls were collapsed and structures were crumbling. What happened? We are already in Langya Blessed Land, yet the land spirit has yet to appear. Tai Baiyunsheng frowned, feeling very alert in his heart. Let's go in and see first. Fang Yuan pondered. The two flew over, slowly getting close to the 12 cloud buildings. Quickly look, there is a desolate beast corpse there. After moving for some time, Tai Baiyunsheng suddenly pointed at one direction, saying, only to see that a huge fish was lying on the cloud soil, not moving. It had the size of a normal whale, but it looked like a carp. There were bones protruding out of its back, along the spine, extending outwards. Its scales were blue in color. Its eyes were as large as a horse carriage, with some starry radiance in them. This is the desolate beast, spy fin star dragonfish. Fang Yuan said. He knew that Langya Land spirit had a beast enslavement immortal goo and enslaved 12 desolate beasts, each kept in one of the 12 cloud buildings. Was this spy fin star dragonfish one of the 12? Oh, someone came in. In a dark secret room, Langya Land spirit opened his eyes, sensing Fang Yuan and Tai Baiyunsheng. In front of him, there was a goo immortal. He was middle-aged and had a mighty disposition. His appearance was not that of a normal man. He had black skin and white hair. He was an Inkman goo immortal. What? Another strong foe? The Inkman goo immortal heard the land spirit and became nervous. Oh, it is that rascal. Pfft, he scared me. No worry, I know this person. Half a year ago, he came here before. After Lang Yalan's spirit focused his mind to detect them, he breathed out deeply. The Inkman Gu immortal raised his brows in surprise. He did not think that there would be other guests coming to Lang Ya blessed land besides himself, since they are friends and not foes. Then all is well. It has been 3 days and 3 nights since we entered the secret room. In just a moment, we can release 1 layer of the seals on you. At this time, we cannot be disturbed. The Inkman Gu immortal's heart settled, but we cannot let them near the cloud building. Old friend, you might not know this, but that kid is crafty and scheming. He is thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritor. I suffered a loss from him in the past. Let me mobilize the desolate beast and stop him from coming temporarily. Lang Yalan's spirit gritted his teeth and said, We've been in here for so long, yet Lang Yalan's spirit has not appeared yet. It seems something huge happened here. The attack on Lang Ya blessed land was definitely not done by one person. Such a force is not to be trifled with. We should search the battlefield and retreat for now. Tai Bai Yunxing was speaking, when suddenly, a large, golden metallic mountain rock drilled out of the cloud soil. The cubic rock moved quickly, blocking the way of the two. Desolate beast. Tai Bai Yunxing readied himself to face this enemy. The desolate beast had no eyes. A large pair of pincers were right in front of it. No one dared to doubt the power of these fearsome weapons. Furthermore, it had 9 pairs of legs, coming out of the cubic rock as they extended. The crab legs stabbed into the cloud soil, propping the desolate beast's large body up. At this point, Tai Bai Yunxing recognized the origins of this desolate beast. This is the Lord of Swamps, Swamp Crab. Fang Yuan snorted. He was very familiar with the swamp crab. After all, when he had just obtained Hu immortal blessed land, he faced a swamp crab in his tribulation. Most importantly, that swamp crab had the gruel mud immortal goo, causing great destruction to Dang Hun Mountain. In order to save Dang Hun Mountain, Fang Yuan had to enter northern plains and attempt to take Tai Bai Yunxing's landscape as before immortal goo. Now, after braving many dangers, not only did he succeed in saving Dang Hun Mountain, he even recruited Tai Bai Yunxing to join him. One could say he obtained both the goo and the goo master. The swamp crab blocked their path. Tai Bai Yunxing stopped in his tracks and asked Fang Yuan, What do we do now? Fang Yuan's gaze was locked on the desolate beast. He said one word. Fight. Be careful. Tai Bai Yunxing nodded, swiftly retreating, pulling some distance from Fang Yuan. He was a healing goo immortal. In most situations, he would not charge forward and take a risk. This was also in line with his usual personality. Fang Yuan floated in the air, looking at the swamp crab silently. Next, he breathed in deeply, straightened his back, and stretched his 8 arms. The muscles on his body bulged, resembling an iron monster. His eyes were blood red. His green face and sharp fangs gave off a ruthless and terrifying aura. At the next moment, Fang Yuan moved. His body was like a meteor crashing towards the swamp crab. The swamp crab was huge, but it was unbelievably agile. 9 pairs of legs moved quickly as it dodged sideways. But Fang Yuan was a flying master. Even though it seemed like he would miss, with just a turn, he crashed into the swamp crab's back. Bam! With a thunderous sound, the swamp crab was pushed into the ground by Fang Yuan's forceful impact. His over 6 meters tall body stood in a crater. This was the damage caused by his attack. Tough enough. Fang Yuan grinned, pulling back 4 of his right arms. His fists, without exception, were torn open and showed the white bones inside. But Fang Yuan had lost his sense of pain. Even though his fists were injured, they was healing at an insane speed. In just a few breaths' time, his 4 right fists recovered completely. Puff puff. 2 waves of fierce winds approached to assault him. Fang Yuan's wings opened as he tread into and flew in the air like lightning, dodging the fierce winds. Hearing 2 sharp sounds, Fang Yuan turned around to look, only to see that the swamp crab's huge pincers were bending at an unbelievable angle towards his back and snapping together. If Fang Yuan dodged slower, he would have been hit already. The battle strength of a desolate beast was comparable to a rank 6 goo immortal. Even with the absurd defense of Fang Yuan's heavenly zombie body, he did not want to endure the attack. The swamp crab's armor is extraordinarily hard. There is almost no flaws in its defense. I do not have cutting or drilling abilities. I can only break through with pure strength. Using power to force my way through is the best method. Fang Yuan's thoughts collided intensely in his mind. His body continued to rise as he looked down. In just a few breaths of time, the swamp crab's body was full of crabs. These crabs were as large as tigers. They were fearless. Some had sharp crab legs, resembling needles. Some had claw-like limbs, and were very fast. This was the special ability of the swamp crab. It could reproduce at any time and place, summoning a crab army that would move according to its will. Very good. Fang Yuan's gaze was cold and dark. He breathed in deeply and activated the killer move, Myriad Self. With the expenditure of 1 bead of green grape immortal essence, he activated the core immortal goo. Thereafter, large numbers of goo worms started activating in a certain pattern. Fang Yuan's 8 fists pounded at the swamp crab below him. Bam, bam, bam. Each fist exploded with a formless fist chi. The shadows of the fist were flying as his punches rained down like a torrential storm. The swamp crab cried out pitifully. It was being pressed into the ground by the unceasing fist chi. Thousands of fist chi slammed on the swamp crab's back, causing its hard shell to become deformed. The fist chi that dispersed formed and gathered, becoming one of Fang Yuan's strength path phantoms. 10 breaths later, an army of strength path phantoms formed on the swamp crab's back. This is Tai Bai Yunxing was shocked. This was the first time he had seen this killer move. The strength path phantom army surrounded the swamp crab, and the crab army collapsed at once. The swamp crab was unable to endure the attacks and cried out, trying to put up resistance. But it could not prevent its imminent defeat. No matter how many strength path phantoms it killed, Fang Yuan continued to attack, and more strength path phantoms were produced every moment. Ah, my desolate beast! What killer move did this rascal use? I have never seen it. It is actually so strong. This killer move has definitely got to be an immortal killer move. In the secret room, Lang Yalan's spirit could see all that was going on. He lost his cool as he started shouting. Chapter 662, Inkman King. Lang Yalan's spirit felt heartache when he looked at his swamp crab. The swamp crab was lying down flat on the ground, unable to stand up. Its 9 pairs of legs were almost entirely torn to pieces, and even one of the enormous steel pincers at the front was shattered. Such a battle outcome caused the Inkman Gu Immortal and Tai Bai Yunsheng to feel a chill from the depths of their hearts. Fang Yuan struck with over 10,000 strength path phantoms, of which over 3,000 still remained. He calmly stored the remaining phantoms into his immortal aperture. These phantoms could only exist for a period of time, and beyond that limit, the fist chi would dissipate and the phantoms would disappear along with it. But as long as they could be used, Fang Yuan would not waste even one of them. Ever since he returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land from Northern Plains, he had been penniless. He did not even have one immortal essence stone. Thus he was not able to replenish large numbers of mortal goo. From the battle just now, he had already probed. With just the 8-armed immortal zombie body, it was hard for him to pose much threat to the heavy armored swamp crab. The only option thus was to use his killer move, Myriad Self. The core of this killer move was a soul path immortal goo that Fang Yuan possessed, and so it required green grape immortal essence to be activated. The situation earlier was not clear. Thus Fang Yuan decisively gave up a bead of green grape immortal essence to take control of the situation. The killer move Myriad Self was indeed created from the convergence of enslavement and strength path. Its might was extraordinary. The swamp crab, which had brought huge trouble to Fang Yuan once before, causing him to use all his strength in order to barely deal with it, could not even raise its head from the beatings of Myriad Self. It continued to be in a disadvantage with no hopes of freeing itself. You rascal, entering my home without a word and also injuring my desolate beast. How will you compensate me? Lang Yalan's spirit furiously chided Fang Yuan. Tai Bai Yunxing was engrossed in looking at this land spirit from behind Fang Yuan. Lang Yalan's spirit was thin with white hair, having a beard that reached his chest and a ruddy face like that of a baby's. He was wearing a loose robe over his whole body and the 2 sleeves were fluttering in the air. If not for him seething with anger and staring at Fang Yuan with his eyes wide open, his demeanor would no doubt look elegant and sagely. Fang Yuan was already familiar with Lang Yalan's spirit. He stared at the shackles around Lang Yalan's spirit, frowning. You have been sealed. No wonder I could not hear any news of your divine sense in Treasure Yellow Heaven. According to Northern Plains time, we have not met for merely more than half a year. How could you end up like this? Lang Yalan's spirit's eyes opened even wider as he snarkily retorted. Talk about yourself. How did you become like this? Neither human nor ghost. Advancing to a goo immortal and yet degenerating into a zombie. Hee hee. You should still have plenty of lifespan though. Humph. Lang Yalan's spirit. You have lived for so many years yet you don't even know the simplest logic of give and take? Only by giving up one thing can you gain another. If I didn't turn into a zombie, how could I be in front of you again and hold such powerful strength? But you, the longer you lived, the more you regress. Now you can't even refine goo. You are really making your main body lose face. Fang Yuan sneered. intentionally provoking the land spirit. Langya land spirit's sore spots were prodded, and he immediately stamped his foot in anger. Not long ago, Langya blessed land had suffered an attack from a mysterious force. Langya land spirit was able to repel the invaders, but he ended up sealed by a chi path killer move. Thus, he ended up having to invite his best friend to remove the seals. Langya land spirit started cursing at Fang Yuan. You shitty kid. You still have the nerve to talk about me? True Yang Building's fall was definitely caused by you, right? Hee. So many people died. 2 super forces lost their tribe leaders. The whole of Northern Plains Gu immortals are searching for you, the main culprit. You are now everyone's target. Your life must be pretty hard now, right? The Inkman Gu immortal and Tai Bai Yunxing's expressions changed. The Inkman Gu immortal's pupils shrunk slightly, feeling an intense urge to cover the land spirit's mouth. But the land spirit had already said everything. It was too late. How could you blurt out such a matter? Are you not afraid those 2 will attack to silence us? The Inkman Gu immortal's heart could not help but tremble with fear. These 2 were actually the people who had turned Northern Plains on its head and even wrecked Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's arrangements. Too dangerous. The situation was going south. The next moment, both Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunxing gazed coldly at the Inkman Gu immortal. Even if the Inkman Gu immortal had high position and authority normally and had extraordinary strength himself, right now he could feel his heart going cold under the gaze of these 2 ruthless monsters. Langya land spirit, why are you not introducing us to this person? Fang Yuan chuckled. His voice was so hoarse that it was borderline uncomfortable to hear. I can't let Langya land spirit reply. Who knows what this loose-lipped guy will say? Thus, the Inkman Gu immortal summoned his courage and stood up. Greeting. My name is Mo Tan Sang. I live in Inkman City and am the king of Northern Plains Ingmen. Tai Bai Yunxing raised his brows. He had not expected this person to have such an origin and immediately looked at the Inkman king in another color. Currently, the 5 regions were dominated by humans. Variant humans were living while pressured on all sides. Many were sold as slaves or raised as pets. Their livelihood was rather difficult. But in Northern Plains, Ingmen had the most favorable status among the variant humans. Many variant humans had no fixed residence and would have to wander around like vagabonds. But Ingmen had established a city in Northern Plains, which possessed 3 Inkman Gu immortals. Mo Tan Sang was the Inkman city's king. Under his leadership, the Ingmen were able to resist pressure from various forces and withstand the covetous gazes of countless Gu immortals. It was not easy to maintain the Inkman's survival. It served to show how talented and skilled the Inkman king was. Inkman King Mo Tan Sang. Fang Yuan muttered inwardly. He had an impression of this name. In the chaotic war of the 5 regions during his previous life. The Inkman king took advantage of the lack of attention paid to him due to the human tribes being too busy in their internal conflicts to grab the opportunity and develop rapidly, greatly expanding the Inkman forces. When Northern Plains human forces wanted to suppress him, he actually disregarded his dignity as the king and threw himself to Lu tribe. He took a servant's right to Lu tribe's supreme elder and became a servant to him. Lu tribe was one of the super forces, thus the Inkman forces were protected. The Inkman forces grew stably under this layer of protection. Later, when Lu tribe weakened, the Inkman king immediately gave up on Lu tribe to collaborate with Ma Hongyuan on equal terms, before Fang Yuan self-detonated. The Ingmen had hundreds of cities and occupied 1/3 of Northern Plains lands. From this one could see how talented and insightful the Inkman king Mo Tan Sang was. Not only did he have unique foresight and courage to take resolute actions, he could also bow and submit when necessary. He was not someone who could be belittled. Fang Yuan lightly praised. So it is the Inkman king. Sure enough. You have a majestic aura beyond that of ordinary people. I am not worthy of such high praise. Inkman king quickly replied modestly. The person before him was the main criminal in destroying 88 True Young Building. He had to be extremely vigilant against such a dangerous person. He took the initiative to explain. Langya land spirit, and I have been very good friends for many years. In truth, Inkman City has always had close relations with Langya blessed land. We in Inkman City have some attainment in Chi Path, and it turns out Langya land spirit was sealed using a Chi Path method. Thus I hurried over to help. Sir is a dragon who roams the sky, stirring up a storm and causing the whole of Northern Plains to be in a state of unrest. I cannot help but admire such grandeur. All along, our Inkman City has been jointly suppressed by the Huang Jin tribes. Back then, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable was even more overboard, demanding Inkman cities to offer tribute in terms of countless female men. In a way, you have helped the Sing men take revenge by destroying Imperial Court Blessed Land. You are also the land spirit's friends, so you are my, Imotin Sang's, friends as well. If you have any plans in the future, feel free to visit Inkman City. He was indeed the Inkman King, such outstanding eloquence that completely expressed his goodwill in just one conversation, especially speaking in neither a servile nor overbearing tone. It was extremely hard to come by. Who is friends with this rascal? Langya Land's spirit shouted in dissatisfaction. However, he felt happy in the depths of his heart when he heard Fang Yuan praising his friend, and the anger he felt previously had reduced. Fang Yuan nodded to the Inkman King, replying with deep intent. If there is an opportunity, I will definitely come to experience life in Inkman City. He then looked at Langya Land's spirit and continued provoking him without concern. Land spirit, even if I am not your friend, you should still welcome me and refine a goo for me. Did you forget I still have one chance left to make you refine goo? If I want you to refine goo, you will do it even if you don't want to. Langya Land's spirit could not put up a facade at all, his temper flaring up immediately. Normally, goo immortals would be polite and even flatter him to request him to refine goo. When had he ever heard disrespectful words like Fang Yuan's? But Fang Yuan was speaking the truth. He still had the final chance to request for goo refinement. Langya Land's spirit was long-hair ancestors' obsession, and he must abide by the agreement his main body had agreed to back then. You damned scoundrel, I am so angry. My anger is going to explode. Langya Land's spirit shouted, his face completely red with fury. But suddenly, he grinned with happiness. Ahahaha, I am trapped. This cheap path seal is too troublesome. There are a total of 17 or 18 layers of seals. Just now, Inkman King only unsealed the first layer. Ha ha ha. I really can't help you refine goo right now. My hands are tied. This is wonderful. He had been bored to death since he was sealed. Not being able to do refinement meant his greatest hobby had been taken away. But right now, he was feeling quite happy about it. It was all Fang Yuan's fault. Seeing this weirdo Langya Land spirit shouting and laughing like a buffoon, Tai Baiyunxing felt this trip was worth it. His horizons were broadened. Inkman King was silent. He was the leader of a large force and was not willing to easily offend Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan coughed before speaking. Solemnly, all right, let's talk about serious affairs. Since you can't refine goo, forget about it. I have another matter for coming over this time. I want to make a transaction with you. Transaction? What transaction? Langya Land's spirit asked. Inkman King immediately turned vigilant. Langya Land's spirit might have high intelligence, but his nature was frank. It was hard to say that he wouldn't be cheated. Inkman King was the land spirit's good friend. If Fang Yuan truly was conspiring, he would stand up and expose Fang Yuan's scheme. The transaction is simple. You should remember the thing about me being a wisdom path goo master, right? I will deduce immortal goo recipes for you while you will pay immortal essence stones as remuneration. This is a win-win deal. Fang Yuan replied. Deduce goo recipes? Langya Land's spirit opened his eyes wide as he became dazed, but at the next moment he started laughing loudly. He was swaying back and forth in his laughter. If his hands were not bound, he might have been slapping his thighs together in laughter. Langya Land's spirit ridiculed. Fang Yuan? Oh, Fang Yuan, you are now a zombie and still think you can deduce goo recipes? Moreover, immortal goo recipes? This old man advises you to get rid of this thought. Inkman King, however, said, an immortal goo recipe, even if it is a remnant recipe, has a high price. If we give it to Sir to deduce it, but you fail in the process, then wouldn't we be handing you the contents of the immortal goo recipe for nothing? Langya Land's spirit was startled to awareness, immediately yelling in rage. Great. You actually wanted to swindle me of immortal goo recipes. Fang Yuan had already prepared for this and laughed, opening his monstrous palm to reveal an immortal goo. Look, what is this? Chapter 663, Recognizing Immortal Goo. At once, everyone's attention was attracted to the goo worm in Fang Yuan's palm. The immortal aura of the goo worm was radiating with the laws of the world. Without doubt, it was an immortal goo. But no one knew which immortal goo it was. Only Tai Baiyunxing's heart shook, as he remembered what Fang Yuan had revealed to him in the past. This goo. Langya Land's spirit watched with shining eyes. I have never seen this goo before. This is a new goo. He jumped in front of Fang Yuan. His nose was only 2 inches away from the goo. Next he sniffed like smelling a flower. He screamed. This is the aura of Luck Path. This is a Luck Path goo worm. Good lad. You destroyed True Yang building, but it seems you had many gains. Fang Yuan immediately mocked. To think that the Grand Langya land spirit would have such shallow knowledge. This is not a new goo, it had appeared 10,000 years ago. Let me teach you, this goo's name is Calamity Beckoning. It was invented by a certain generation's fairy of Central Continent's Spirit Affinity House, Imoyao. Imoyao. Inkman King heard this and his eyes shone. If I remember correctly, this woman is a rare legend in Inkman history. She cultivated to rank 7 and had overwhelming charm. Even the Grand Sword Immortal Bo Ching was attracted to her. Inkman King talked with a fanatical expression, like he was speaking of a treasure. I apologize about my demeanor, but I have been looking up to Senior Imoyao as my role model since youth. Thus I am very familiar with her stories. Fang Yuan found this a little humorous, to think that this Inkman King was a fan of Fairy Imoyao. But now was not the time to chit-chat with the Inkman King. Fang Yuan used this chance to mock Langya Land Spirit. Langya Land Spirit was so ashamed from his words that his face turned red. He wanted to find a hole to hide himself and he grumbled under his breath, but he did not rebuke Fang Yuan. After all, he really did not know this immortal goo. After Fang Yuan made some snide remarks in a mystifying tone for a while, he saw that the time was right and took back Calamity Beckoning Immortal Goo, fishing out another immortal goo. Langya Land Spirit. Didn't you say you were well-learned and knowledgeable? I will give you another chance, see what goo worm this is. Langya Land Spirit stared with wide-open eyes. He moved forward to take a closer look. After a few breaths' time, he took a deep breath. His nervous expression became smug. Of course I know this immortal goo. Its name is Cleanse Soul. It is a cultivation assistance type goo for soul path goo immortals. The cultivation of soul path includes strengthening the soul, refining the soul, and pacifying the soul. The best way to strengthen the soul is Dang Hun Mountain's Guts goo. The best way to refine the soul is Luopa Valley's Bewilderment Fog and Luopa Wind. As for pacifying the soul, it would be the Pacifying Soul Soup in Bewitching Lake. This Cleanse Soul Immortal goo can refine a goo immortal's soul, getting rid of all the impurities. But if it was used excessively, it would get rid of even the essence of their soul. Oh, you actually recognize this goo. Fang Yuan pretended to be shocked, thinking in his heart, so this immortal goo is called Cleanse Soul. I called it Split Soul in the past. I guess I was wrong. This Cleanse Soul Immortal goo was the core goo of the killer move Myriad Self. The killer move, Myriad Self, could form strength path phantoms of Fang Yuan. These strength path phantoms had a trace of his soul. Thus Fang Yuan could manipulate them freely like an extension of his own body. It was agile and flexible. But precisely due to this, the killer move Myriad Self expended Fang Yuan's soul foundation. Langya Land Spirit saw Fang Yuan's shock and his smugness intensified on his face. But Fang Yuan quickly said, "Count yourself lucky, you coincidentally recognize this immortal goo." Hey, what do you mean luck? This is my strength. If you really have strength, how could you not recognize Calamity Beckoning Immortal goo? Never mind, take a look at this goo. I'm sure you cannot recognize it. Show me, I will definitely know what it is. Langya Land Spirit shouted. Fang Yuan took out another goo. Langya Land Spirit concentrated his attention on analyzing. He laughed a few breaths later. Haha, this is the Cloud Path Immortal goo, Rising Azure Cloud. Rising Azure Cloud? Tai Baiyunxing interjected. That's right. Langya Land Spirit said proudly, shaking his head. This goo is a movement-type immortal goo. It has a long history. Goo immortals can use it to easily travel through mountains and cross water bodies. But what is most valuable is that this goo's ascending and descending speed is extremely fast. It far exceeds most other goo of the same rank. So this immortal goo is called Rising Azure Cloud. Fang Yuan thought about it. Appearing as if he was not satisfied, he took out another immortal goo. Land Spirit, it seems you might possibly have some skill. Look at this goo. Fang Yuan said, What do you mean might possibly? Of course I have skill. Langya Land Spirit rebuked. His eyes were shining as he looked at Fang Yuan's palm. After a few breaths, his expression changed. Oh, it's you. What goo is this? Tai Baiyunxing asked again at an appropriate time. At this point, he had already understood Fang Yuan's intention. Although Fang Yuan had captured these goo in True Yang building, he did not know their origins. He had been guessing. There was no doubt that familiarizing oneself with unknown immortal goo was very troublesome. The most direct method was to consume immortal essence and activate the immortal goo to directly see their effects. But this had some flaws. Firstly, immortal essence was precious. Secondly, immortal goo had huge power. It might cause harm to oneself if used wrongly. For example, Calamity Beckoning goo and Spring-Autumn Cicada could not be used blindly. Thirdly, some immortal goo have very peculiar uses. Even if they were activated, they would not show any effect if the target or environment was inappropriate. Even though wisdom goo could help Fang Yuan could only make deductions based on the information he already had. Lang Yalan's spirit did not suspect a thing. He flaunted his knowledge. This immortal goo is peculiar and vile. It is a one-time consumable goo. Although I have never seen it personally, I have heard about it in historical records. Back then I paid close attention due to having a special impression of it. This goo's name is woman's heart. It is different from ordinary immortal goo. Its refinement and nurturing occur together. Fang Yuan was immediately intrigued. Gu worms were classified into nurture, use, and refinement, these three aspects. Generally with the three aspects, although they affected each other, each still stood alone. An immortal goo with nurturing and refinement combined into one. Fang Yuan had never seen any. But Fang Yuan was very familiar with a type of goo worm that combined use and nurturing. This was the rank 5 blood guillotine goo that had a vile reputation. Then, what exactly was this woman's heart goo that combined refinement and nurturing? Fang Yuan was curious, but he could not ask directly. At this point, Tai Baiyunxing cooperated and asked, "It can actually combine nurturing and refinement. This is the first time I've heard of this despite my long life." Lang Yalan's spirit gave Tai Baiyunxing a look. "Lad, you are still young. You have not lived for long enough. The variety of goo worms is as wide as the sea. The three aspects of nurturing, use, and refinement are extremely vast and profound. As the saying goes, a woman's heart is the deadliest poison. This immortal goo, woman's heart, is a poison path immortal goo, with a lethal poison. To nurture it, you will need the hearts of women. The process of feeding would also be the process of continually refining and promoting the goo. The more hearts fed to it, the more powerful its poison." Tai Baiyunxing's expression changed. "It needs the hearts of women? Such evil and cruelty. This is a demonic goo." Actually, you can use the hearts of female variant humans to replace it, but the effect would be worse than human hearts. To achieve the same toxicity, you will need many more hearts. Lang Yalan's spirit recalled. Tai Baiyunxing's expression was solemn. Even variant humans are people. They have parents. They have flesh and blood, love and hatred. How can they be sacrificed so easily? Just to feed a demonic goo. Saying this, Tai Baiyunxing looked at Fang Yuan in worry. Fang Yuan was expressionless. He put away the immortal goo woman's heart and took out another immortal goo. Lang Yalan's spirit, "I admit you have a degree of skill, but this level is still slightly inferior to me." "Ha ha ha, the immortal goo in my hand now, there is no way you can guess it." Fang Yuan seemed to have complete confidence. Lang Yalan's spirit's gaze was immediately attracted to the new immortal goo. This is also a luck path immortal goo. He sniffed with his nose, turning nervous, but a few breaths later, his nervousness vanished. He breathed out deeply. "I know this immortal goo. Haha. Back then, my main body had seen this immortal goo during a discussion about cultivation with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable." "Oh, such a coincidence." Fang Yuan showed a look of disbelief. Of course. Lang Yalan's spirit's eyes were burning with fire. Fang Yuan's disbelief made him extremely upset. To prove himself, he spilled all that he knew. This immortal goo is called Connect Luck. It has a very special use. It can allow a goo master's luck to be connected to other people's luck. If one has good luck, it will be shared to the other person. Similarly, if one has bad luck, it will also affect the other party. If you have luck inspection goo, you can inspect the formless luck of other people. If you see a person with good luck, you can use this Connect Luck immortal goo. But this is not the best method to use it, because luck is like a tide, its rises and falls are uncertain. If you do this, you still would want to use another immortal goo, break luck, in tandem. Another better method is to coordinate this with other luck path immortal goo, to connect your own luck to the luck of mountains and valleys, to the luck of a long river, or the luck of a blessed land or grotto heaven, or even the luck of an immemorial desolate beast. Tai Baiyunxing immediately understood the reasoning behind this. He stated praise. "That's right. Famous mountains and valleys have been around for ages. Blessed lands and grotto heavens are unlikely to be destroyed. And immemorial desolate beasts are on par with rank 8 goo immortals. The luck of these things is much more reliable than humans." Lang Yalan's spirit sighed. Luck path takes a peculiar direction, while also piercing deeply into the great Tao of heaven and earth. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, who first created it, had amazing talent. He was extraordinary. Back then, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable discussed about Tao with my main body for 7 days and 7 nights. Even my main body was full of admiration for him. Inkman King continued, In history, the 10 Venerables were all supreme existences. Even as an Inkman, I am full of admiration for them. He had understood Fang Yuan's intentions since long ago. It was to obtain knowledge about the immortal goo from Lang Yulan's spirit. But he did not expose this. Fang Yuan did not harm Lang Yulan's spirit. Inkman King had no need to ruin his tenuous relationship with Fang Yuan for no reason. Fang Yuan nodded at the Inkman King, before turning to Lang Yulan's spirit and saying, "Let's go back to the deal. I am full of sincerity. I had never thought of taking your immortal goo recipes for myself. Land spirit, when I deduce the immortal goo recipe for you, I will place an immortal goo with you as collateral. By then, if I fail to analyze it, but had already seen the immortal goo recipe, you can take this immortal goo. You will feel assured in this case, right? The value of an immortal goo far exceeded any immortal goo recipe. Lang Yulan's spirit exchanged eye contact with the Inkman King, before shouting, "Rascal, it seems you are very confident in yourself. Okay, this deal is not risky for me at all. In fact, I profit from it. I will say this first, I will give you only 3 immortal goo recipes. It doesn't matter which one it is, but you need to completely deduce an immortal goo recipe to count as a success. If you succeed in deducing the recipe of an immortal goo, hand it to me and I will pay you the immortal essence stones, as well as another remnant recipe." Okay. Fang Yuan did not hesitate. He immediately agreed. Chapter 664, Bountiful Harvest. After successfully coming to an agreement with Lang Yulan's spirit, Fang Yuan breathed out a sigh of relief. This transaction was simply too crucial. The profits would be the key for Fang Yuan to break free of his current problematic situation. Although he knew of many ways to earn immortal essence stones from his previous life's memories, these methods needed time and planning, or involved great risk. The deal with Lang Yulan's spirit was the only one with little risk, coupled with high rewards. After thinking about it for a while, Fang Yuan left the Cloud Path Immortal Goo, Rising Azure Cloud, and Lang Yu Blessed Land as the collateral of the deal. Rising Azure Cloud was a movement-type goo. Fang Yuan did not lack a movement immortal goo. He already had Worldly Wave Trace. The latter was suited for water path goo immortals. Its effect was greater when used in an environment that had rivers, lakes, or the sea. Meanwhile, Rising Azure Cloud's strong point was in ascending and descending. Its normal movement speed across places was slower than Worldly Wave Trace. Fang Yuan only cared about practical use. To him, Worldly Wave Trace was much more useful. That night in Northern Plains, Fang Yuan returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land alone, while Tai Bai Yunsheng stayed in Lang Yu Blessed Land. Fang Yuan was very satisfied with this trip, although he consumed 1 bead of green grape immortal essence under that situation. Without knowing the real circumstances inside Lang Yu Blessed Land, he needed to quickly defeat the swamp crab and gain the initiative of the situation. Immortal essence was indeed precious, but it should be used when needed. Immortal essence that was not used had 0 value, not mentioning 1 bead of green grape immortal essence. Even if he had to use 8 or 10, Fang Yuan would use them without hesitation if needed. He concluded that this time, he put in little investment, but made huge gains. Firstly, he took back fixed immortal travel. The return of fixed immortal travel was an extremely pleasant surprise. With fixed immortal travel, Fang Yuan could cross the regional barriers. He could step into all 5 regions. Using the advantage of his rebirth, he could set up schemes everywhere, obtaining the biggest benefits. Even at worst, if Immortal Crane sect breaks into Hu Immortal Blessed Land and destroys it, Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng could retreat while bringing along Dang Han Mountain and Wisdom Goo. They could attack if they progressed, and defend if they retreated. Although fixed immortal travel was a rank 6 movement immortal goo, it gave Fang Yuan the greatest advantage in this situation. Rising Azure Cloud and Worldly Wave Trace added together could not achieve something like this. At this point, Fang Yuan felt his pressure reducing. Secondly, he had formed the Snowy Mountain Alliance with He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan. He Lu Lan had the great strength true martial physique, one of the 10 extremes. She had huge potential, and once she advances into an immortal, her battle strength would be terrifying. Fairy Li Shan was a famous character in Northern Plains. On one hand, she was the 3rd leader of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, but on the other hand, she had a wide range of friendly relationships and had dealings with many of Northern Plains' righteous path goo immortals. There were scumbags and weirdos among righteous path goo immortals, and the demonic path even more so had its outliers. Every conflict originates from benefits. The righteous and demonic paths were not just enemies out to kill each other. They also cooperated, made transactions, and even worked together secretly. Fairy Li Shan had the Mountain Pledge Immortal Goo. This goo was the reason why she was so popular with everyone. Dongfang Changfan had created an alliance with the righteous forces. He needed Mountain Pledge Goo. Demonic Path Goo immortals were even more suspicious of each other. Such a huge organization like Snowy Mountain Blessed Land could be built all because of the foundation of Mountain Pledge Goo. Because the alliance created using Mountain Pledge Goo could not be broken. This was the key to gaining the trust of Demonic Path Goo immortals. Fang Yuan allied with them because on one hand, he could gain powerful assistance, while on the other hand, he could settle his biggest problem of not getting timely updates about information in the world. Fairy Li Shan had wide connections. It was much easier for her to gain information compared to Fang Yuan. And thirdly, Fang Yuan obtained the information of 4 immortal goo. He had snatched them when destroying the formless fists. They were Cleanse Soul, Rising Azure Cloud, Woman's Heart, and Connect Luck. In terms of value, starting from the lowest. The first would be Rising Azure Cloud. To Fang Yuan, this goo had the least value. He was exerting its greatest use by leaving with Langya Land Spirit as collateral. Poison Path Immortal Goo Woman's Heart, a one-time expenditure goo that combined refinement and nurturing. It had slightly greater value. Generally speaking, these one-time use goo had powerful effects, like the Immortal Goo Gruel Mud. Above Woman's Heart was Immortal Goo Cleanse Soul. Cleanse Soul could refine the soul. Its effect was far greater than Fang Yuan's Wolf Soul Goo. Fang Yuan had Guts Goo. It was easy to strengthen his soul. Before he enters Luopa Valley, Immortal Goo Cleanse Soul would be the best replacement. In addition, Cleanse Soul was the core goo of the killer move Myriad itself. This had even greater value. Fang Yuan made an evaluation. If he did not use the killer move Myriad itself, his battle strength was lower than ordinary rank 6 goo immortals. But once he used this killer move, his battle strength surged. He would be equivalent to a first-rate rank 6 goo immortal. Of course, compared to Fang Yuan's Bloodpath battle strength in his previous life, he was still weaker. In Fang Yuan's previous life, he was a demonic path overlord, at the peak of rank 6, and was only a step away from rank 7. His battle strength was truly fearsome. He was at the top of rank 6. He even had the shocking battle result of winning twice against ordinary rank 7 goo immortals. Last was Connect Luck Immortal Goo. This Luck Path Immortal Goo was unexpectedly Fang Yuan's greatest gain. Its value even surpassed Cleanse Soul. Even though Cleanse Soul was Myriad Self's core, it was not irreplaceable. But the importance of Connect Luck Immortal Goo to Fang Yuan was simply unique. Fang Yuan's first vital goo was Spring Autumn Cicada. This immortal goo was the cause of his rise. Without this mystical goo, he would not have reached this stage. But at the same time, this goo had always been dragging him down. Be it the pressure towards his aperture, or Spring Autumn Cicada's weakness, the constantly low luck of the user, it gave huge problems to Fang Yuan, and even resulted in many fatal crises. If not for Fang Yuan's ability and ruthless personality, coupled with his many methods, ordinary people in his place would have died long ago. Spring Autumn Cicada was Fang Yuan's trump card. But it was also his greatest flaw. With Connect Luck Immortal Goo now, it could resolve Spring Autumn Cicada's luck flaw. Langya Land Spirit had provided many uses for the Connect Luck Immortal Goo. The best way was to use other Luck Path Immortal Goo along with it, using them together to link the Goo Master's luck to a famous mountain or river, an immemorial desolate beast, or even blessed lands and grotto heaven. These existences have boundless and long-lived luck. They were not easy to destroy. But Fang Yuan was not going to use this method. Because he could not. He only had one Luck Path Immortal Goo. He could not use it with other Luck Path Immortal Goo. Fang Yuan's method was to use Connect Luck Immortal Goo to link his luck with other people's luck. Langya Land Spirit had earlier said, a person's luck was like a tide, its rises and falls were uncertain. In connecting your luck to others, you had to be careful, otherwise the user would be dragged down at times. If this was used with Break Luck Goo, it would expend precious immortal essence, and it would also force the user to be on constant alert. But this weakness was non-existent to Fang Yuan. Why? Because he was someone who was reborn using Spring Autumn Cicada. He knew who the lucky, famous, or extremely successful people were of this generation. He even knew what their achievements would be, and when their downfalls would occur. I can totally use my previous life's memories to find these future important people, and use Connect Luck Goo to link my luck with them. Since I have Spring Autumn Cicada, my luck will always be abysmal. After connecting our lucks, the one taking advantage will always be me. Fang Yuan thought about this and recognized the great advantage that fixed immortal travel gave him even more clearly. If not for fixed immortal travel, he would not be able to freely move between the 5 regions. Where would he have time to travel far, and why to look for those people who were currently still nobodies? The final gain from this trip were the 3 immortal goo remnant recipes he brought back from Langya Blessed Land. These immortal goo recipes had very high completion rates. They were 90% and above. There was even one piece with 99% completion rate. After resting for a while, Fang Yuan arrived at the underground cave. Deducing an immortal goo recipe had too many elements to consider. The wills created by mortal goo were definitely insufficient. Fang Yuan had no hesitation. He activated delight in water and mountain goo. He decided to do the easy one first, to settle the remnant recipe with 99%. At the same time, in Langya Blessed Land, Langya Land Spirit, what do you think of my restoration? Tai Bai Yunxing's hands were behind his back. He stood before Langya Land Spirit and the Inkman King. Inkman King saw the restored cloud soil as amazement shone in his eyes uncontrollably. Earlier, Tai Bai Yunxing had taken the initiative to stay behind. When he had suggested to heal Langya Blessed Land, he did not see much hope. But to think that Tai Bai Yunxing did such a great job, the effect was out of his expectations. Langya Land Spirit assessed Tai Bai Yunxing for a while, saying, "To think that at such a young age, you were quite impressive. How did you do it?" Tai Bai Yunxing laughed bitterly. He was old and had white hair. To hear someone call him young was a really peculiar and weird experience. He took out landscape as before immortal goo, displaying it before the 2 of them, and introducing it clearly. Inkman King praised loudly. To think that there is such an amazing immortal goo. With this immortal goo, we can restore the blessed land's terrain and river flow. It can greatly reduce the losses caused by heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities. This immortal goo's value is immense. Langya Land Spirit was also interested. I have heard of this immortal goo. It once belonged to Immortal Jiuhui. Immortal Jiuhui had inherited a certain true inheritance from spectral soul demon Venerable. Not only did he have landscape as before, he also had man as before. I have not seen this goo of yours personally. Let me research it. It is bound to give me new inspiration. I will give you 5 immortal essence stones as compensation. Langya Land Spirit had many businesses. He was very rich and did not lack immortal essence stones. 5 immortal essence stones. Tai Bai Yunxing hesitated before rejecting and shaking his head. Immortal goo were one's personal secrets. They should not be exposed easily. But Tai Bai Yunxing, for the sake of his future, learned from Fairy Li Shan and had no choice but to expose landscape as before immortal goo. How could he hand this to Langya Land Spirit? He said he would research, but what if he ruins it during the process? Seeing that Tai Bai Yunxing did not agree, Langya Land Spirit was very disappointed, but he still footed the bill. You restored all the cloud soil for me, according to our deal. This is 3 immortal essence stones. Tai Bai Yunxing waved his hand and rejected. I will not accept these 3 immortal essence stones. When Fang Yuan comes to hand in the recipe, give it to him along with his compensation. Langya Land Spirit was stunned, before laughing wildly. What? Don't tell me you believe that the rascal can really succeed and complete the recipe? Ha ha ha, do you know how many years these recipes have troubled me? Especially that recipe at 99% completion rate. Even my main body could not finish it. Chapter 665. 3 100% Immortal Goo Recipes. Langya Land Spirit. Isn't this a little inappropriate? Inkman King glanced at Tai Bai Yunxing as he said this with worry. The other party included the fierce people who wrecked Imperial Court Blessed Land and toppled 88 True Yang Building. Inkman King was very worried Langya Blessed Land would be harmed if Fang and Tai were angered. Langya Land Spirit was extremely frank, and as if he had not heard Inkman King's words, he satisfiedly said, "Umph. That brat is too crafty. He dared to treat this old man in such a vile manner. So I did it on purpose. I am teaching him a lesson to let him understand the principle of respecting the old." Ha ha ha. What goo recipe can he deduce? What foundation does he have? He is clearly a strength path immortal zombie. Did he think this old man could not see it? Humph. Little Tai by his blind confidence in him. If he can deduce the immortal goo recipe, this old man will personally crush his medicine grinder and eat it. Tai Bai Yunxing did not respond, instead looking at the arrogantly laughing Langya Land Spirit with pity. He really wanted to say, "It is not Fang Yuan whom I have confidence in, but the wisdom goo." Fang Yuan quietly stood within the wisdom light halo. After a while, he slowly opened his eyes. They were shining with joy. Success. He was deeply moved. In a few moments' worth of time, he had deduced the first remnant recipe to 100%. This perfected goo recipe was the 99% remnant recipe. Fang Yuan gasped in surprise when he looked at this goo recipe again. This last step was simply mystical. To think this was a goo recipe I perfected. He himself found it incredulous. Deducing goo recipes depended on one's foundations and inspirations. If one did not have enough foundation and refinement path, it would be very difficult to deduce goo recipes. But even goo masters with deep foundations would often encounter problems when deducing goo recipes. They would be stopped at these steps, not able to progress even an inch for years. There were even cases where goo masters would not make any progress for decades, or even a century. To break through these barriers would require inspiration. But inspiration was extremely hard to obtain. It could appear continuously over a short period of time, or not even appear once in many years. Even if they had inspiration, that was only a possibility, and it would have to be tested and verified that if it was successful, that would be true inspiration. If it failed, that would only be an idea, a failed attempt. Wisdom goos might lies in being able to provide unlimited inspiration to goo masters. I am a refinement path master. My foundation is enough, and I only lack inspiration. Fang Yuan once again sensed the power of a rank 9 goo. This was still the case in which he had only stepped inside the wisdom light halo. If there came a day when he truly activated wisdom goo, who knows what the results would be. Fang Yuan suppressed the flood of thoughts and examined his mind. There were still large amounts of joyful will in his mind. The remnant goo recipe had been extremely close to completion and had only lacked the final push. Thus, Fang Yuan did not use much joyful will. He concentrated and began deducing another goo recipe. The second goo recipe was the immortal goo remnant recipe, with 97% completion. Fang Yuan did not have to consume much joyful will this time around either, only expending 1/3 to cross the barriers that were blocking the completion of the immortal goo recipe. Crossing these barriers meant resolving the greatest troubles. The thinking process could then smoothly progress with everything else being obvious. Fang Yuan could deduce them completely even if he relied only on his own ability. But at the third immortal goo recipe, Fang Yuan encountered slight trouble. He had to use up 3 beads of green grape immortal essence in a row before he was able to perfect this immortal goo recipe. The difficulty of this immortal goo recipe was quite high. When one problem was solved, another would appear. Thus, even though its completion rate was already as high as 96%, the amount of green grape immortal essence expended to deduce it was 2 to 3 times as much as than the previous 2. But even so, when considering the deal, Fang Yuan profited hugely. Fang Yuan hurriedly connected to Treasure Yellow Heaven and contacted Lang Yalan's spirit with divine sense goo. Lang Yalan's spirit laughed wildly and was thinking Fang Yuan had made contact to admit defeat. So when Fang Yuan handed him a 100% complete immortal goo recipe, he was stunned for a while. After a few breaths of time, all his attention was absorbed into the contents of the immortal goo recipe. Amazing, amazing. This barrier could actually be broken in such way. Why didn't I think of it? How could I not have thought about it? He shouted. Were it not for both his hands being trapped in the chi path seal, he would probably be slapping his thigh fiercely. The praise suddenly stopped, and an embarrassed expression showed on Lang Yalan's spirit's face. He had not forgotten that a short while ago, he had been extremely pessimistic of Fang Yuan's ability. How could he have expected Fang Yuan would hand over a completed immortal goo recipe to him not long after? Lang Yalan's spirit felt embarrassed, muttering, Brat, who could have thought that your line of thought is so weird? You actually hit the target while blindfolded, and wildly deduced this immortal goo recipe. Consider it your luck this time. According to our contract, perfecting a rank 6 immortal goo remnant recipe of a 90% or over completion rate will be paid with 10 immortal essence stones. Should I hand them to you using Treasure Yellow Heaven, or will you come personally to take them? Transactions in Treasure Yellow Heaven naturally required a fixed service charge. But Fang Yuan would have to use fixed immortal travel if he went to personally receive the payment. And every activation of fixed immortal travel required 1 bead of green grape immortal essence. It was a considerable price. Fang Yuan thought it over. Using Treasure Yellow Heaven would mean a cheaper cost. but it was hard to avoid leaving behind some traces which might be deduced by some wisdom path Gu immortals with harmful intentions. But personally going to take them would mean too high of a cost. Fang Yuan was somewhat troubled. Langya Blessed Land was in northern plains while Hu Immortal Blessed Land was in central continent. The two were not in the same region, so using whole earth Gu was not possible. Only Stargate Gu could be used. Land Spirit, with your personality, you should have Stargate Gu there, right? Fang Yuan asked. Hee, brat, you really understand me. Langya Land Spirit frankly admitted he had obtained Stargate Gu's recipe from Fang Yuan. He first refined a set of Stargate Gu and gave them to Fang Yuan, refining another set afterwards for his own collection. Fang Yuan nodded and transmitted his thoughts. Treasure Yellow Heaven is not safe. Our transaction will be sensed by many, and once the frequency of this increases, it will bring us great trouble. Fixed immortal travel is convenient, but the price to use it is too high. It is better for us to link our two blessed lands and establish a Stargate. Build a Stargate. Langya Land Spirit shook his head and refused Fang Yuan's suggestion without consideration. Brat, I have been deceived many times by you. Building a Stargate is not a small thing. Any calamity over your side will immediately afterwards be directed here as well. If Langya Blessed Land is discovered by someone, my life will be difficult. Fang Yuan laughed loudly and did not attempt to persuade him, instead handing over the second Immortal Gu recipe. You actually completed another one? Langya Land Spirit received a huge shock. This speed, wasn't it simply too fast? This method of resolving the problem is simply marvelous. You actually thought of using this Gu, and there is also refinement Gu material like intimate grass. How did you think of them? Langya Land Spirit chattered on and exclaimed as he appreciated the wonders of this 100% completed Immortal Gu recipe. Ha ha ha, old man. The new generation replaces the old. You are already old and stay all day in Langya Blessed Land without knowing the developments in the outside world. Even if you have your best friend, Inkman King, he is an Inkman. How could he come across the key aspects of human cultivation? Moreover, who am I? I am a peerless genius of wisdom path. One day, I will surpass star constellation Immortal Venerable. Fang Yuan laughed arrogantly while spouting nonsense. Langya Land Spirit was dumbfounded that he really wanted to retort, but the truth was right in front of his eyes. The two Immortal Gu remnant recipes which had troubled him for countless years were solved so easily by Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan suddenly heaved a sigh. Sigh. Do you know the loneliness of a genius? Since my birth, I knew I was extraordinary. There was no one around who could have an equal conversation with me. Some people even believed I was a monster. They were afraid of my wisdom and envied my talent. I could only hide myself and appear to be like a normal person. It was to the extent that no one could see that I was overflowing with heaven-defying talent. Wisdom path seemed to be the path the heaven arranged for me, but from a twist of fate, I ended up becoming a strength path immortal zombie. Tell me, isn't my life full of setbacks? Even heaven was envious of my talents. Langya Land Spirit could no longer bear to listen to this, stamping his foot. Hey brat, don't be so self-important. What is amazing about deducing two Immortal Gu recipes? If you are really a genius, then deduce the final Immortal Gu recipe. Only then will this old man admire you. Fang Yuan was silent. Langya Land Spirit raised his head. Humph, kid, this old man admits you have some talent. But so what? Even my main body was stumped by that final Immortal Gu recipe. Ponder over it properly for 7 to 8 years. Maybe you will know how profound this world is and how many stars there are in the sky. You will then learn to be humble. Ah. You mean, this Immortal Gu recipe? The corners of Fang Yuan's lips pulled back as he tossed out the third Immortal Gu recipe. This was simply the final blow. Langya Land Spirit's laughter came to an abrupt stop. Shortly afterwards, he shouted in shock. This? What is this? What in the world is this? His voice contained a trace of panic. Fang Yuan heaved a long sigh and said with a slow, sad voice, I said it earlier, my talents often provokes fear and envy. Sigh. Nothing can be done. I am such a genius. I was born this way. Langya Land Spirit's panic this time was no small thing. He was only formed from an obsession and was not shrewd. This final Immortal Gu recipe was a huge impact to him. You really succeeded in deducing it? Incredible. Incredible. This immortal goo recipe can actually be solved like this. Your train of thought went in a completely different direction. No wonder even my main body could not deduce it. This old saying has come true. The mountain road twists around every new peak. A glimmer of hope shines at one's darkest hour. The mountain road twists around every new peak. A glimmer of hope shines at one's darkest hour. Fang Yuan's spirit kept on mumbling to himself. He was at first completely shocked before becoming ecstatic. Finally, he calmed down, his heart filled with frustration. This immortal goo recipe had been perplexing him all along, and even his main body was stumped, unable to take the final crucial step. Sometimes Fang Yuan's spirit even thought that this immortal goo recipe was a complete dead end, and there was no way for it to be resolved. He had given it to Fang Yuan to deliberately make things difficult, and had never imagined it would truly be solved. However, he obtained the complete recipe now. The problem he and even his main body could not resolve was solved by Fang Yuan. His heart could not help but feel frustration and listlessness.